Hello and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. Last time we passed out in the middle of the road and we had to go back and not go to town. I opened my eyes groggily, completely bereft of energy. For a while I simply lie down lifelessly, staring at the ceiling as I review the events of the morning in an attempt to organize my thoughts. We went to walk to town. My heart nearly gave way. We came back. I took my pills. I slept. I can only remember each period of time as a snapshot, but the timeline is clear enough. The memory of the girl's faces as I struggled to stand is an unpleasant one, stinging my feelings harshly. If I look at the ceiling hard enough, I can imagine the tile edges and small dimples of the ceiling in the hospital. That fact alone is enough to make me sit up and try to pull myself together. I scratched the back of my disheveled hair, glancing around the room. Lilly and Hanako are nowhere to be seen, and the television's turned off. The clock above it says it's pretty late in the afternoon. The noticeably reddened sky outside the window confirms it further. I turn and pick myself off the futon, swaying slightly as I put my arms out for balance. I suppose I'd better go look for the girls to see if they're alright. As I look out the window, I faintly see something in the distance. Straining my eyes, I can just make out the shape of a person's figure. Her blonde hair, swaying in the faint breeze, makes her almost seem to melt into the bright yellow of the wheat field. Was there a wheat field? Without a second thought, I leave the room to follow that lone apparition. Wow. Clouds. Wheat field. Beautiful. The brightness of the setting sun assaults my freshly woken eyes, forcing me to avert them until they adjust. The long yellow strands of wheat brush against my legs as I wade through them, the densely grown field making it hard to advance. Regardless, my eyes stay fixed ahead, true to that solitary figure. Within minutes I reach her, meters behind her back. Lilly? She simply nods. Where's Hanako? She's dead. I buried her. She's in bed. We went to sleep after I calmed her down. She says it matter-of-factly and with as few words as possible, as if saying any more was strictly forbidden. There's something different about her. Her normally confident figure seems oddly fragile, her body offering no resistance to the breeze blowing her skirt. The strands of wheat sway from side to side while a deafening pause passes, the only sound being their rustling. As we stand in the field alone, I know what I have to ask. What's wrong, Lilly? You're not acting like you usually do. Remember when I talked with my family, Hisao? Your family? Nope. I looked downwards in thought, sifting through my scattered memories. The event seemed to leap ready to hand when I searched for it, rising to the surface as soon as it was recalled. After Hanako's birthday party? She gives a single, simple nod. It was nice back then. You and I celebrating with Hanako, simply sharing presents, talking, having fun together. It was almost as if we were a family. One small, misshapen family. I thought that I could just go on forever, just the three of us, happily together. She takes a long breath, a slight shakiness to it, just barely audible through the moving air. Even if my family was so far away, as long as we were together, that was all I needed. I don't want to lose you, Hisao. I didn't even realize how afraid I was of losing someone else until today. I'm sorry, Lilly. I know my body's weak, but even then I make the most stupid of mistakes. Don't apologize. Please don't apologize. Lilly? She turns to face me, her pale cheeks stained with tears. She stabs me right in my tum-tum. One misguided step after another, she stumbles towards me, her arms held out in search of so much as a faint brush against me. Do we get a hug? Oh wow. We get a big hug. in the wheat field. And there's a windmill? My heart doesn't race nor pound as I step towards Lilly, gently taking and steadying her in my arms as she quickly clutches to me, sobbing. With her face trembling against my shoulder, the next words from her mouth are the last I expected. I love you, Hisao. I love you. 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 Don't go away, I beg of you. Never ever go away. I love you, so please. So, that's why she's been acting like this. That tender voice when I called her, her thoughtless concern at the slightest pain I might feel. After having been left in Japan without her family, and with only Akira, Hanako, and me around, she was afraid of losing yet another person who was close to her. She was genuinely worried for me. It's a strange feeling having someone care about me. I'm used to living in the garbage, with no one to look at me or care. A mix of surprise and sorrow, yet also of the deepest gratitude I think I have ever felt. The only reaction I can muster among my conflicting emotions is a calm sigh. You idiot. Hey, so? For a fleeting moment I feel her body become stiff. The only movement to be felt is the calm afternoon breeze. I said it before, didn't I? It's only natural to feel concerned about those around you. I'm still here, and I'll always be here because I want to see you more each day, to share in your happiness, to support you in your sadness. But most of all, I'll still be here because I want to see you smile, your true smile. A single gust of wind rustles the long strands of wheat as seconds' silence passes. Smile when you want to smile, cry when you want to cry. I love you, Lilly, so you don't have to hold back anymore. With that, her arms clutch my back as tightly as she can, her face buried beside mine. Further away, but the same picture. Her tears fall down my back and she cries unrestrainedly as the last of her resistance melts away. Hisao! 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 I close my eyes and bring my head down to her shoulder, holding her shaking frame tightly. It's okay, Lilly. I'll never go away, and then I wake up because this is just a dream. I promise. We slowly walk back to the house, holding each other tightly as we take a seat inside. Lilly leans her head onto my shoulder as I put my arm around her waist. Neither of us has any want to break the silence. With her eyes shut, it's hard to work out whether she's fallen asleep. Not that I mind. The warmth of her body leaning against me, the softness of her hand delicately held in mine. For a long, long time we sit leaning against one another, sharing our warmth and feelings as night eventually begins to settle in. Lily's gentle, soft voice ends the silence. Thank you, Hisao. Thank you. For returning my feelings. Did you think I wouldn't? There was a possibility. I take a deep breath and thought that much was only my fault. It's funny, actually, I was thinking of telling you about my own feelings sometime soon. I guess in that way you saved me the effort. I'm lazy. She raises her head a little and gives a tiny amused giggle. I smile at how earnest it is, so girlish in its lightness. You female. She collects herself soon afterward, her hair resting against my shoulder. Feeling a bit better? No. She gives a small nod. You are thoughtful, Hisao. That's why I like you. I'm sorry I'm like this. She just said that she likes that you're like this. Why would you say that you're sorry? As much as I didn't want to make you concerned for me, I couldn't do anything to prevent it. Don't apologize for it. Please don't. Lilly? Have I ever apologized for my blindness, even once? You can't help the way you were born, Hisao. There's no point in apologizing for who you are. She says this with surprising conviction. In the end, it was perhaps this mentality which spurred her to befriend me in such a short time, in addition to her motherly instincts. She did seem to become trusting very quickly, but I had never questioned why. Now it seems obvious that she did so to help me as I went through one of the lowest points of my life. I moved to respond, but cut myself off as I feel her fingers run gently through my hair. I feel her soft and delicate touch moving downwards to trace the contours of my face, her palm finally settling on my cheek. You are a beautiful person, Hisao. Please don't ever apologize for that. I didn't apologize for being beautiful, I apologized for being broken. Get it right, Lilly. For a moment I'm utterly speechless. I slowly bend my head down, placing a tender kiss on her light, voluminous hair. You kissed her hair? Why? She can't feel when you kiss her hair. Hair don't got feelings. We're a couple of right old fools, aren't we? At the right old age of 18. We are. After a long calm, she speaks again. Hisao. Yes? I wouldn't mind if you... I feel her hand tensing under mine, trembling slightly. My mouth opens, but try as I might, I can't formulate a response to her proposition. Lilly! Before I can say another word, she slips her hand from under mine and tenderly holds the side of my face once more. Please. I give a peaceful smile, holding her hand against my cheek as I nod a single time. Okay. As I look into her eyes, she leans towards me. Her delicate lips touch mine as she guides herself with her hand. She breaks off not a second later, faintly smiling. I love you, Hisao. We kiss again, this time with both of us meeting the other. While the previous kiss was one of love, this one is of lust. Uh-oh. Our tongues meeting and our breathing heavy. After precious seconds we part, both our faces well and truly flushed. Both of us bring our fingers to our lips in unison, recalling that fleeting feeling, rapidly becoming buried both by our urges and bashfulness. Lilly is the first to shift uncomfortably, though. What is it? Well, we're out here, curtains open, in front of God and everybody. Hanako's in the next room, and we're over here making out on the futon. Should we get more comfortable? Okay. Now that she mentions it, this futon would be a bit too narrow to do much on. Considering the thoughts running through both our minds, it's no small wonder one of us has any measure of foresight left. I take her hands and guide her sideways as I move, the brief and awkward dance ending with both of us tentatively sitting on the floor opposite each other. Why didn't you just turn the futon into the bed? Why are you on the floor? As I reach forward to pull her top up, she stops after she moves her hands to do the same. You're shaking. I pause for a moment and look at my hands. Yeah, I'm a little weak from the brush with death. Please forgive me. Sure enough, they're quivering slightly. Plus, I've never touched a titty before, so I'm nervous. Whether it's from nervousness or excitement, I'm not sure. I guess I am. So you're as nervous as I am, then? I withdraw my hands and sigh, steadying myself. We have plenty of time, so there's no need to rush this. Sorry, it's my first time, so I'm a bit... She giggles shakily, all but confirming what I reasonably deduced by now. It's the same for me. I'm happy we could share this together. I match her smile twofold, leaning forward and taking her body in my arms as she reaches to hug me back. I love you, Lilly. You already said that. Yeah, and I'll say it again. If it's true. Me saying it twice doesn't mean that the first time was any less true. I can't help grinning. Even in such a situation, she still has her wits about her. Breaking our embrace, we decide to take off our own clothing. While it's easier this way, I don't doubt it. It's just an attempt to distract ourselves from our nerves. With slightly stiff hands, I begin to slide the first button out from my shirt. Once you wear button-up shirts on holiday? Not even a t-shirt? Once we remove the last of our clothes, which end up haphazardly piled behind us, my breath is taken by the sight. Okay. She is beautiful. There's the summary. Her hands tightly held behind her only serve to further accentuate her chest. Her tall and pale body is beautiful when bared. It was okay when it was closed. This girl in front of me, reserved yet playful, astute yet hospitable. What a weird thing to call someone. Is the girl I've fallen in love with. I lean forward, delicately taking her shoulders in my hands. As I do, her titties brush against my chest. With slow and even breath, we lean into each other for a deep kissu. Chew. Uh-oh. Ah. Uh-oh. Oh, this is really tame. They're just hugging. Actually, they're just laying next to each other naked. I'm not reading this out loud, I can't do it. They're just like... She's rubbing my chest. 'Cause she can't see me, so she gonna feel how absolutely yoked I am. This is... She feels the scar. The scar from my surgery. They had to do this in order to operate on my heart. Yes. For a moment she's lost for words. The idea of such extensive scarring adding a new worry for her. Her expression changes from curiosity to apprehension. Should we really be doing this kind of thing? Nope. He can die at any moment. Those words bother me beyond what is rational. Lily's face breaks my heart more than even her words possibly could, yet I don't even know the answer to her question. I refuse to let my condition prevent me from doing the sex. I will do the sex if it kills me, and especially if it kills me, says Hisao. Can't let this condition dominate me forever, especially if it could prevent me from the pee-pee touch. It may not even be medically advisable, but I ought to refuse to live my life in such a prison. It's okay, Lily. This much will be okay. She doesn't think that that's true. Uh-oh. They're still just laying there. I can't show it because there's a titty. But they're still just laying there. They didn't have to write it like that. Not as she brushes the side of his lower hair. Not the lower hair. What is that face, Hisao? That's not a smile. Now. No. Damn, he didn't even... She just jumped right on it. Oh no. No! No! That's bad! That's bad! Hisao, you fucking monster! She's bleeding! She wasn't bleeding before and now she's bleeding! How are y'all doing this and Hanako just right in the next room? What if she woke up and saw you guys like this? It would be so awkward for the whole rest of the trip. You're just in the middle of the living room. It's not like you're anywhere private. They got all sweaty? They didn't even do anything. They didn't even do anything. They just laid on the floor. And then she started bleeding. Cause Hisao's a monster. Didn't use any lube or anything. Bruh. That was all pee-pee touching. It was just a pee-pee touch scene. I learned nothing. I learned nothing. All I learned is that Hisao is he's a selfish, dumb baby. He just let her get up on there and bleed and hurt herself. I don't like that. I don't like that. After being woken by a sound, I opened my eyes with a measure of reluctance. Did they fall asleep naked? That's bad. Turning my head to the left, I find the rain outside sweeps against the windows loudly. Spray after windblown spray lashes against the glass as if trying its hardest to make up for the summer's previous heat. I sit up in the futon, holding the back of my neck to try and subdue the pain of my awkward sleeping position. By all accounts, I should be lamenting the turn in the weather, given that this is our last day here. The events of yesterday refuse to stop flooding my mind, though. Yeah, I bet. The feeling of holding Lily's crying body in my arms. Whoa! Why was she crying? Oh, was that in the field? Okay. The rush of lust and hormones that flowed through us as we spent the night together. It seems almost futile to try and rationalize everything that happened. There's no rationalization. You're both young, and that's your fault. That's the only rationalization. In an attempt to distract myself, I groan and lean over to retrieve my bag without standing. Pulling out one bottle after another, I take the daily regimen's worth of pills from their containers and swallow them without further ado. It took a surprisingly short amount of time to get used to swallowing pills without water. That said, I suppose the same thing goes for getting used to living in a school for disabled students. Remembering Yamaku, I became all the more grateful for having the chance to get away, even if it's just for the shortest of times. I appreciate the chance to spend time alone with Lilly and Hanako, away from the bustle of school life, even considering the latest complications. I never thought I'd say it, but the idea of living away from the city in a nice, tranquil area is an inviting one. It's a thought that barely a year ago would have seemed simply ludicrous. A flash of pink, no doubt Hanako's gown, peeks around the corner. Realizing I must look a sight since I've only just woken up, I slap the remaining pills into my mouth and run a hand through my hair. Good morning, Hisa. I reply to her, completely forgetting that I'm in the middle of swallowing a particularly large pill. Coughing and sputtering, I violently gag on it. Hisa. After sputtering loudly and tapping my chest a couple of times to force it down, I managed to recover. I'm fine. Sorry, I forgot I was swallowing. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Hold my hand up, gesturing for Hanako to stop. I gagged. It's my own fault. Morning, Hanako. She pauses a moment before bowing in reply. Walking, no staggering in behind Hanako is the familiar figure of Lilly. No! Not staggering, baby! I don't like that. Also dressed in her pajamas. With her eyes full of sleep and hair bed-raggled, she's a sight to behold. Hi, Lilly. Did you like the deep dicking I gave you? I bet you didn't, since you bled! Good morning, Hisa. For a while, a silence hangs in the air as neither of us knows what to do. Given what happened last night, we both have more than enough reason to be finding the situation awkward. Just how are we meant to react to meeting each other after something like that? Maybe you should have thought about that before you did it. The best course of action would probably be to talk to Lilly alone, to set things in order. I'll start making breakfast. Lilly evidently catches on to my train of thought. I'll help. Hanako, could you set the table? She nods, her head disappearing into a cupboard as she quickly goes about her assigned task. I rub a little more sleep out of my eyes as I wander over to the fridge and take out some milk. Lilly grabs various brightly colored boxes from some of the lower cupboards to my side. While we make the rather bland-looking meal, I whisper somewhat more quietly than usual, knowing Lily's hearing. She won't have any trouble catching what I say. Are you okay, Lilly? After last night? She gives a delicate nod, her expression weak. Though her tiredness surely plays a part, she seems genuinely unsure about what's happened between us and how to move ahead. I can't say I blame her, considering my feelings are the same. I'm sorry, Hisao. I wasn't thinking straight yesterday. I never stopped to consider you or Hanako, and I even went as far as... She's winding herself up, with her hands and voice both tightening. I give her a gentle bump to try and lighten up the situation. You don't have to apologize. I said I liked you as well, after all. That doesn't really change anything. But As her composure begins to falter, it becomes obvious there's no alternative. Turning to Lilly, I gently embrace her tall frame. She offers no resistance at all, thankfully pulling back just from the edge of her emotions. Despite our reassuring embrace lasting only a matter of seconds, I notice Hanako wordlessly watching. The plate in her hand hovers inches above the table, her action halted midway by the sight. She's like, "This is weird. Can you guys stop? I'm right here." The clatter of utensils against the plates is the only sound to be heard as we silently eat, whereas before only two of us may have been unsure of ourselves. The entire situation has changed. After weeks of blissful friendship, whiling away the days with shared meals and chatter with little meeting, the relationship of Lilly and me, no, that of all of us, has irreversibly changed. I can't take this. Lilly. She solemnly nods, gently laying her spoon on the plate in front of her. Neither of us knows exactly how we regard each other, let alone how Hanako would view us. This might seem abrupt, but I've confessed to Hisao. For a moment, Hanako looks almost confused, precisely the reaction I'd thought she would have. She eventually nods, her spoon still in her mouth as she does. Did you accept? I did, and now we are married, because that is how that works. She gives a smile so large and so earnest, I find myself blushing. I think it's the brightest I've ever seen her expression look. Then I'm happy. I'm really, really happy. I'm sorry for not telling you anything about it before. Things have been... Hanako shakes her head from side to side, emphatically, apparently forgetting in her rush that Lilly couldn't possibly notice. She begins fiddling with her fingers, looking a little more nervous than she did before. To be honest, I began to think you might like each other a while ago. At first I didn't really know what to think about it, but I decided in the end that if my friends are happy, then I'm happy. I was really glad to have another friend when we met Hisao, so you finding love through him is even better, right? A feeling of relief at her acceptance of our relationship falls over me like a wave. The same happens to Lilly, judging by her expression. Thank you, Hanako. I really appreciate you being so understanding. Lilly's voice still sounds slightly apologetic, or at least unsure. This doesn't escape Hanako, who appears lost in thought for a few moments before turning to me. Hisao, do you mind if Lilly and I go outside for a bit? No. Feel free. I'll just sit in here by myself. Hanako? Hanako gets up from her seat, taking Lilly's hand and almost dragging her from the table in her excitement. Considering Lilly's typically slow and steady pace, Hanako's haste makes her footing awkward, and she almost loses her balance a couple of times. It's a pretty amusing sight, leaving me wordless as I watch them disappear out the door. It's only now that I realize the rain stopped, being replaced by a sky seemingly all the more vivid and bright to make up for the morning's drab gray expanse. For Hanako, this must be a pretty big revelation. Lilly and I are really the only people she associates with, almost as if we were parents in her own's stead. I suppose that might well be the best way to describe the relationship we share. A father, mother, and daughter, all playing around in our little make-believe family as if it could last forever, but we are all about the same age, so that would be weird. It might be a strange dynamic, and one that certainly can't last for long, but maybe, just for this small moment, it's okay. As I stand from the table and go to join Lilly and Hanako in the fields outside, I nod to myself in affirmation. She said she wanted some alone time. Why are you following them? This one small moment of happiness, no matter how brief, will last with me, with all of us, forever. What? Submerged deep in the hot water, I let a drawn-out sigh escape my lips. The feeling of seemingly every muscle in my body relaxing is euphoric. I have no idea how long it's been since I had a genuine hot bath, but right now I can hardly be bothered trying to remember. Maybe I'm giving the simple fact that for once I get to have a real bath more credit than it's due. The chance to just calm down, allow myself to unwind, and have some time to myself is a welcome one. Hanako, Lilly, and I wandered about outside, exploring the extent of the surprisingly large tract of land surrounding the house. Then we spent the majority of the afternoon resting, watching television, reading, and playing cards. It may not have been the most exciting finale to the trip, but such tranquil peacefulness is something to savor. Even after we return to school tomorrow, I think I'll remember this little house in Hokkaido for a long time. It's a pity we only have a couple more hours to spend here before going to get the train back. All I can do is yawn contently while I watch the steam slowly rise from the clear water's placid surface, my eyes eventually locking onto the ceiling. Our exams are imminent. I've barely studied at all for them. On top of that, I don't even know what I'd do after graduation. Passing exams is all well and good, but to what end? Also now, of all times, I'm getting into a relationship. What the hell am I doing? Brr. I guess I shouldn't think like that. What's done is done, and maybe this could be viewed as just another aspect of my new life that I'm working on. I enjoy being with Lilly, and there's more to life than school and a career after all. As I busily attempt to rationalize all that's happened, I hear a series of raps on the door. I pick myself up and sit upright, trying to figure out the source. 3, no more and no less. Light yet assertive in their tapping, and timid regularly enough to tune a metronome. And timed regularly enough to tune a metronome. I'd be extremely surprised if it wasn't Lilly. May I come in? Yeah, it's Lilly. I'm still in the bath. I'll be out in a sec. I know. The voice coming from the other side of the door freezes me. After a second's thought, I rest on the side of the bath and let my arms dangle over the side. Despite trying my best to play it off, I can't help letting my mind wander. Sure, come in. Again? Are we doing this again? In the same dang old video? You guys need to stop. You're too horny. So you need to calm down. With that, she opens the door, slowly walking into the room and closing it behind her. She looks oddly calm, countering my racing heart. Hey, Lilly. Do you mind if I take a bath with you? I don't mind. Go ahead. Maybe you should mind. You have just confessed to each other. This is so abrupt. With a small nod, she begins to lift her sweater off her shoulders, baring her chest little by little. I could do that for you if you'd like. Refused. Why? Her face shows she's still not overly comfortable with letting me attend to her. I can't say I blame her. She continues undressing, her shirt and skirt falling to the floor and leaving her in her white lace bra and panties. Eventually she stands bare in the center of the room. Bruh. Again? Again with this? Why? Hanako is still in the house. Even if she knows that you guys are dating, that doesn't mean that you can just do these things. Compared to last time, it's a lot easier to take in her figure. Sure, it is a wonderful sight. Isa? You're thinking perverted thoughts, aren't you? Give me a break, you're undressing in front of me, and I'm a red-blooded Japanese male. She furrows her brow in thought. I guess this would be somewhat more erotic for you than me. Why? 'Cause she can't see. She gives a small, light-hearted chuckle, which seems to settle her nerves a little. Why do you want to bathe with him? I don't understand. You're really beautiful, you know. My earnest comment draws a vivid red blush from Lilly. He's so, how dare you? I give a small grin. She's cute when she's taken off guard. In any case, may I come in? Ah, sure. They got a big bath. I lean forward and take her hands in mine, helping her over the side of the bath. She feels out the side of the bathtub, then slowly lowers herself in, my breath catching when she sits and leans her back onto my front. Her legs inside mine. I'd expected her to sit on the other end. Oh. There is another one. Why is this happening? Guys? Can you chill? This is, we were having a nice, reflective period by ourselves in the bathtub. And you do this? He's struggling to control his urges, and yet he is just hands on the titties. Far from missing the sight of her assets. The feeling of her body against mine is surprisingly relaxing. There is nothing here that needs to be repeated. They're like, your bath is hot. I can make it not hot. You know, compared to Akira, you look a lot more foreign. I took after my mother's side genetically. Akira took after my father's more. I guess that makes sense. How on earth did a native Scot and a Japanese businessman meet anyway? My mother was a journalist. She met my father while he was at a conference in Inverness. Ah, I see. Taking after your Scottish side would also explain your height, I suppose. I look back at her as she nods and sigh at the ridiculousness of the situation. This is really too much, isn't it? Having a casual conversation while bathing is too much? Is it? It's a little sussy. You're enjoying it though, aren't you? Okay. Don't ask her that. That's what you notice, Lilly? You notice his heart beating? That's it? Why does you touching her give you an oddly satisfied feeling? Isn't that normal? Aren't you supposed to be satisfied feeling when you're touching somebody you love? Is that not normal? Why is it odd? Only takes a few minutes? Y'all can't be moaning in the bathroom. Hanako's still in the house. Bruh! Again? Y'all need to chill. This is the most. Is this the most? In a route? Is Lilly's the most sexy sex route? Damn, Lilly is violent. She be stabbing her little nails into his soul. She done stabbed them into his chest. She done stabbed them into his shoulders. He got little crescent moons all over his damn torso. Why would you say that? Why would you ever write the sentence that her loins hit mine? Or my loins hit hers? She gonna get pregante. Then your life's gonna take a turn. Her family's rich though. Bruh. Bruh. Well, kind of all that we did was the sex. We confessed to Lilly, and from there everything went all hormonal. Yeah. And then we told Hanako that we confessed, and then apparently Hanako was cool with us having sex in the bathroom. And that's everything. Well, I will see everybody in the next video.